Good morning, everyone. This is Nate G. This is a session on the TPS trading system of Nate Bear. This is a review session and then going over trade setups. So this morning we have quite a few great TPS setups to go over, and TPS, as many of you know, stands for trend, pattern, and squeeze. And that's the primary trading strategy that we use here in the room. And it is Nate Bear's primary trading strategy. And basically, we want to find names that are doing all three of those things. Are they in a trend? Do we have the pattern that we like? And finally, is there a squeeze? And those are the three criteria, the three main criteria that we need to have to take a position. So as you can see up here on my chart, I have Adobe. Let me get rid of my lines here. Let's see, remove drawings. Why didn't that one go? Oh, that's an alert. Okay, remove that. So when we're setting up and we're trying to find a stock that looks good for a TPS setup, we actually search for these backwards. We search for them by looking for squeezes and then finding out if the other criteria work. But let's talk about it in the chronological order of trend, pattern, squeeze. This is Adobe on the 130-minute chart. Okay. Do we have a trend? Is there a trend in place? The trend at this point obviously is up, right? You can see from here to here. Oh, that's awful. Let me do it in a spot where you can see it. We are trending up, right? That's a terrible arrow, but you get the idea. We are trending up. So is this in a trend? Yes, right? The next question is, do we have a pattern? And our pattern is what Nate refers to as the bird pattern, right? Do we have the bird pattern? And the pattern is up, a pullback. We've run up to a new high in this, not a new all-time high for Adobe, but a new high. We've pulled back and we've started consolidating. Okay, and that's the pattern. It looks like a woodpecker or a bird, right? That's why we call it the bird pattern. And then finally, do we have a squeeze? And the squeeze is down here. And this is, if you don't have this on your charts, if you're in TOS, you can look it up as the TTM squeeze. I have it set at the moment as Squeeze Pro in TradingView. This gives you an oscillator of momentum, and then when the dots down here turn red, that means we are in a squeeze. And a squeeze basically means that there is consolidation, volatility has come in, and we are getting ready to make a move, either up or down, right? That there's no way to predict which way it's going to break out of the squeeze. But we can turn the odds in our favor by picking something that's in an uptrend. That's why we start with trend, right? Okay. So Adobe is in a good TPS pattern. Can we all agree on that? And many of us right now are in Adobe. So yeah, we'll look at some in a few minutes, right? So Adobe is in a trend. It has the pattern we're looking for, up, pull to a high, pullback, consolidation, and we're in a squeeze, right? We have all three things. So Adobe fits our TPS pattern, and we would want to play Adobe. And as we get into this, we'll talk about where we get in, how we make our entry choices, et cetera, et cetera. As we can see, Adobe is, according to Nate's rules, we would try to enter somewhere around the 21 on the 21 EMA on the pattern that we are playing. And the exit would be an extension of a Fibonacci extension of the 1272 above the high, which we'll get into here in a little bit. So let's try and find some other patterns that fit our TPS pattern, right? Trend, pattern, squeeze. Mark J says we've got Marvel in one now. All right, let's check it out. Okay, I can already see that that's looking pretty good. Now we just need to find the squeeze. So are we in a daily? Squeeze on the daily, right? So do we have, is Marvel in a trend? Yes, Marvel's in a trend. It's gapped up, right? It's made this new high up to 6802. It's pulled back and it's consolidating, right? So we have a trend. Do we have our pattern? Let's go to a 195. Not quite in a, is it in a squeeze on the 195? Not quite. So it is the daily. Because the daily, as you can see, is in a squeeze here. Do we have our pattern? Yes, this is a pretty good pattern, right? We came up, we pulled back, and we're consolidating in here, right? We don't really have the neck of the bird, but we have a gap up, right? And then on top of that, are we in a squeeze? Yes, we are in a squeeze. I don't like today's candle, but today's candle is today's momentum candle isn't closed yet. So what we really love to see, if we get all three things and then more, is a rounding of momentum. So we're changing from red to yellow. Ideally, the yellow continues, which means we've got rounding momentum, which gives us even more probability that that is going to fire to the long side, right? So C-Dog, you're asking about, do we worry about momentum being lower, meaning being in the red, being down here in the red? What we want to see is that red to yellow switch, and then we know we're on the right track. Right? A lot of times we'll enter down here in the red, and because we'll get a good entry with a nice risk reward. But once that starts to turn yellow and comes up and hopefully fires into this light blue, then the squeeze fires ideally, and we get the move we're looking for. So we want to enter when things are calm, price is lower, especially if we're playing options, right? Less volatility, less IV in the option, and then as it fires and comes out of the squeeze, the IV goes up, the option increases in price, and we're off and running. So, okay, so Marvel is one. Let me talk about a couple of other ones that I think look fantastic. EA. It's a little bit more volatile in terms of these drops, but I like EA here on the 30-minute chart, right? We have a trend, right? We have a pattern. My crude drawings, I need a better drawing tool on this computer. And we have a squeeze, right? All the things that we are looking for, I actually entered EA today on this dip. And I called it out in the room as well. Nancy, we're going to get to Thinkorswim in just a second. I mean, I'll even toggle this over. I have my Thinkorswim charts ready to show you. And that's, so we'll do that here in just a second. It's just easier to see here on TradingView if we're searching for something, right? The other one that I was looking at earlier in the day, this one I got into and stopped out of. This is U. But if we go to a 30-minute chart and we back it out to the start of the day, I was looking at U this morning. Okay. You had news. We have a trend upwards. We have a pattern. This one's not quite as clean, right? This one's not quite as clean. But we have a trend where we have close to our pattern. And then we have a squeeze here, right? So I was looking at U today. I ended up getting into U this morning. It broke this AV anchored VWAP, sorry, and I got out. So, and as you can see, it's drifting down. But that was a shot I took this morning, and it didn't work. They don't all work, right? And as you can see, this looks like it might fire to the short side. So that is a busted trade. But you can see how the pattern worked out. Here we have, here's another one that we were in as of Monday. And in again today. This is AMAT on the 30-minute. You can see I have all my lines drawn in here. But do we have a pattern? Yes. Spike up to a high. I'll get rid of my drawings. Right? We've spiked up to the high. We've pulled back. We're consolidating. We have quite a squeeze developing. Probably have a squeeze on the 1 hour. Let's see if I have the 1 hour on here. Not quite, but definitely on the 30-minute. And I've been playing this between support and resistance levels, and it's coming right back into the buy zone as we speak. So here is our support level, and I'll show you how we get those support levels later. I did a session on AMAT on Friday, which is recorded. But you can see we have the trend, we have the pattern, and we have the squeeze. I have to catch up on chat here a little. Let's see. My drawings are getting better. Thanks, John. I was actually a designer in a previous life. Not a previous life, but a previous career. EA is squeezing on the 30. Yeah. You can see that right here. This is the 30-minute chart. It's got a nice squeeze here. Now EA is coming into the point of control on this pattern, so I would expect to see a little resistance here. But if it can push through and get above that, we are really in business. So U is not squeezing on the 30-minute anymore. It was. This is a 30-minute chart on U. As of this morning, it had a nice squeeze. And it's now firing short if this candle closes where it is. And that's why I'm out of it. AMAT, I took the 144s for next week. $144 calls for next week. Ooh, and our pattern looks like it might be trying to break down on us a little bit. So I'm going to keep an eye on that as we go. How are the indexes looking? Yeah, we're rolling a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Qs are below VWAP. So almost everything else I'm in is still valid, so that's good. I really would like to see Adobe break. But it looks good. mean, Adobe's just what a great pattern. Look at that 78. Go to the 130. Okay, so we've figured out how to find a trend, a pattern, and a squeeze, right? Does anybody have any questions on that? And what I'll do is go through. Can I go over Squeeze Pro? Yeah, absolutely. And then what I'll do is I'll go over how we find an entry and how we plan an exit. And I'm recording this lesson, and I will put it up on YouTube until we have the capability to record in the room and put into the regular recordings, which is coming. But for the time being, I'm just recording my sessions and just putting them up on YouTube. So, okay, what was somebody had a question. So, go over Squeeze Pro. Yeah. So a regular squeeze, the TTM squeeze is just green dots when it's not in a squeeze and red dots when it is in a squeeze. When you have the Pro, let's see if I can find one that's got some proper Pro dots. You'll get black when it's in a light squeeze, red when it's in a normal sized, like a medium squeeze, like a normal squeeze, and then like an orange if it's in a really, and in this case it's a really tight, yeah, it's more of an orange color when it gets into a high compression squeeze. You can kind of see it there. On this one, it's kind of hard to see. And so what we're looking for is for a squeeze to fire. So let me find. Sorry, I'm trying to keep an eye on AMAT. Because if AMAT breaks down, obviously we want to exit. And so for AMAT, this is kind of, you can see based on the pattern, we're looking at this on a 30-minute chart, right? And so based on the chart and based on VP, the support level for this is right around 143.41. And so a break of that 143.41. So we've been buying it off of that 143.41. And then our resistance level sits up here at about 145.53 for this pattern. And then with it, you can see that here on the volume profile, here on the side. And within that, our point of control sits at about 144.62. Right, that's our midline. We are below the point of control right now. On this one, there's almost two levels of point of control. Two large VP node spots that we need to get up and over before this is it's gonna fire long. We're watching the squeeze down here. It's not looking great at the moment. It was looking pretty good earlier. What we'll find is, normally for me, my stop would be on a break of this support level at 143.41. I'm going to pull the chat back up, make sure I'm following that. I'm trying to trade, follow the chat. Just a second, Neo. I'll answer that question in a minute. So normally we'd say, okay, I'm going to take a trade off of 143.41 or slightly above it, trying to go long. If we break that level, that's my stop, right? We've broken that level, but I'm not ready to stop on this, right? My risk parameters are a little bit, my risk parameters have given me, I took a great entry this morning, and I want to see what this candle does. And we kind of talked about this on Friday. A lot of times market makers will bring the stock down below what are obvious support levels and try to run people's stops, right? And basically, you'll get a breakdown of the pattern. You'll hear D-Man talk about this a lot, right? A break and a reclaim means it breaks down and then reclaims the pattern. And that's actually extremely bullish if that happens. So just because this broke, it hasn't broken in a convincing, in an ultra convincing way. The market isn't tanking, right? It's pierced through there. I have to remember I'm playing it on a 30-minute chart, right? I want to see where this 30-minute candle closes. So if I take something like AMAT on a 30-minute chart and I'm watching it on a 1 minute, all this movement, this break looks way more convincing on a 1 minute, right? Let's just say we didn't have these three candles here that are turning green, but you see this break here. It looks way more daunting on a 1 minute, but if I'm playing a 30-minute chart, I need to stay calm, right? You'll hear Nate talk about this a lot. I'll get out as on a break under this level, right? But if you're playing a 30-minute chart or a daily chart, that means a close of that candle under that level. Obviously, if the market is completely tanking, everything is flushing, then you want to treat that a little bit differently. But I want this candle to close, and I want to see where it closes. If it closes at the way down here at the low of the candle, that's pretty convincing. Maybe we're breaking, right? But for right now, I want to see what it does. If it comes back up here and retests and rolls, then I'm probably going to stop out. Does that make sense to everybody? You have to remember the time frame you're taking your trade on, and not to panic if you're in a daily trade and watching the 1 minute, right? No, I'm not buying more AMAT now. I want to see if it reclaims the pattern. So that's what I'm watching. I want to see if it can get back above this 143.41 area. And what I would expect it to do if it doesn't break down, and it might break down, right? I don't know. The market, it does what the market does. We just have to react, right? I can't hope that it's going to do. I mean, I can hope, but I can't trade on hope, right? So what I'm watching for, let me find my brush again. I would like to see this come back into the pattern, retest or reclaim the pattern, retest that low, and then work its way back up into the pattern, right? That to me would be extremely bullish. So you're asking if I'm going to add. I'm not adding right now because I'm not sure what's happening, right? I'm not convinced that this is, a fake breakdown and we're going to reclaim, or if this is an actual breakdown. But where I would add to this is on this move right here, if it happens. Does that make sense? We would reclaim the pattern and then retest this support level. I would add there. But I wouldn't be adding now because we've broken the pattern. Yes, Trish, the 1 minute doesn't affect the 78 minute. They are the same. So it's just the candles within, right? So within the 78 minute, right? Let's say, hold on. Within the 78 minute, this single candle, there are 78 1-minute candles that make up this candle. Right? So yeah, I guess in your question, doesn't it affect it? Yeah. But it's just price action. Right? So if I'm playing a pattern on the 78 minute or the 30 minute and I'm watching a 1 minute, I need to remember where I'm playing this pattern. And you'll see this happen time and time again until you understand it, if you don't understand it yet. You'll watch it on a 1 minute, you'll stop out because your stop was set at 143.41, and you'll wick down on the pattern you're playing. So in this case, we're not playing a 78, we're playing a 30, but same idea. You'll wick down on the 30 and then come right back up into the pattern, and you will have stopped out because you were watching, a 1 minute or a 5 minute instead of checking back on the pattern you're actually playing. Does that make sense? Somebody was asking about Squeeze Pro isn't showing what mine is. Neil, we can maybe figure out what's going on there later. So when you pull up a 30-minute chart of AMAT, you don't see this squeeze on your Squeeze Pro. I can show you what my settings are if that helps. I don't know why I can't get that to come up though. Let's see. No, I can't get it to come up. Usually I get a little eyeball here that allows me to show you my settings like I can up here. We can try and figure that out offline. But it's just the default setting. I haven't made any changes to it, right? But here we are in AMAT. And we're going to wait and see what happens to this pattern, right? We're back up to what is now the resistance level. Previous support becomes resistance when you break it, right? And now we're going to watch and see what happens. If we can come back into this pattern, in fact, if we're going to use VP, I would say, if we can get back up into 143.81 and then come back down here and test 143.41 and go, I think that's extremely bullish. Frank, orange high compression means that if it gets into a high compression, it kind of means that the potential for a larger move is there's a higher potential for a larger move because you're squeezing more. And there's really no way to predict which way. You just put the odds in your favor by making sure you're in a trend, making sure you have your pattern, and you're playing it in the direction of that trend. So, let's see. Yeah, I'll take a look at QCOM later. Keith, can you remind me on that one later? I just have a bunch of things that I want to try and get through here. AKA nobody's posting trades. Only Nate Bear is posting trades. D-Man and I are just talking about trades. I took AMAT this morning off of this 143.41 level. I bought the 144s out to next week. Yep. Jack, your toss does not show a 30-minute squeeze. Okay. Well, let's jump over. So does anybody have any questions about trend, pattern, squeeze? We should all know that, right? This is just a review. We try to enter trades near support levels, and we're looking for a break of resistance levels. But when you hear Nate or myself or D-Man talking about TPS, sometimes we'll say TTM because it's the indicator is called a TTM squeeze. That's what we're talking about: the trend, the pattern, and the squeeze. Okay, so let's go learn how to search for TPS patterns for ourselves. All right. So where I do a lot of my charting in TradingView. I do my searching for setups in TOS. So let me jump over to TOS, make sure everybody can see my TOS screens. Let's hold on a second. It should toggle over here right now. Let's get rid of that. Let's go. Where's my chart? And then this usually, let's make it a 3. And that's usually a weekly. Okay. So here is my Thinkorswim grid for searching for charts. And if we go to, let's go to AMAT. Can everyone see this? TradingView, there is a free version of TradingView, and TOS is free. But I also do my trading, my options trading and my stock trading in TOS. So that's where that comes from. TOS is free. Yes, TOS is free. Thinkorswim. So AMAT 30-minute chart. I actually am showing a pro squeeze here. I'm assuming you can see that. This one I won't be able to draw on quite as well, so you'll have to kind of follow the crosses, the crosshairs as it were, because I don't have that tool set up just yet. So this is my grid that I trade on in Thinkorswim. Over here on the left-hand side, on the upper left, I have the chart of the SPY, small chart of the SPY, 1 minute. Below that, I have a small chart of the Qs, 1 minute, so I can track them. I have my watch lists below that on the left with the squeeze grids. I'll go over how to add the squeeze on Thinkorswim, my master watch list, and then my main charts are a 1 minute, a 30 minute. So the top two are a 1 minute and a 30 minute. And then the bottom two are this is actually supposed to be a 78 minute and a daily. So those are the 4 main. And then I have a weekly over here in the upper high right side. And then the ticks and the VIX and the advanced decline. And those are all things that Nate uses as well. I'm happy to share this grid with anybody that uses Thinkorswim. In fact, at the end of the session, I will send this in. I do have a paid indicator on here that I can't send you. So if I come here to, I believe if I go to stream, let's see. I haven't done this in a while. There we go. Does that still have the paid indicator? Sure does. Share. There we go. Hold on. We're almost there. Holding. Good. So we've got 78. I have a 5 minute here, but you can change that to a 1 minute. I have the 30 minute, and I have the daily and the weekly. So let me share this one. Share the flex grid. Now we can't put links in here. So what I'm going to do, I think I have to do this. I have to put the dot in what would be .com or .mx into parentheses. So you will have to remove the parentheses around the dot to get this to work. Okay, so this is my grid that you see up right now. Copy it into a browser window and then remove the two parentheses around the dot. That's the only way we can put a link in here. So let me know if you have any trouble with that. So that will give you the TTM squeeze down here. It's an indicator. And it'll give you this chart layout. Let me know if anybody has trouble with that. So let's go to AMAT. So AMAT on the breakdown is starting to try and reclaim. Trying to. We'll see what happens. It could also just be retesting that level and planning to roll over. We'll see. Sorry, I just got a text I had to pay attention to there. Okay, so this is how I search for setups, for TPS setups. I have a scan running in the background. Let me find it first. Let's see here. Load scan. I can also share this with anybody who wants it. If I can find it, there we go. Nope, I need 30-minute. I have a lot on here. 30-minute squeeze, ATR, weekly. Okay, so this is a scan in Thinkorswim. Let me run it real quick. So I am looking for stocks between $20 and infinity that have a squeeze on the 30-minute chart. You see that over here, 30-minute chart. I have extended hours turned off. We are within 6% of the 75 period high on the daily, which means we're close to all-time highs. And we have a ATR, average true range, greater than 1.5 on the daily. So that goes through, it scans for all stocks in a 30-minute squeeze within 6% of their 75 period high, which gives us our trend, right? Being within 6% of a 75 period high on the daily. Every period is a day, right? So for the last 75 days, it's within 6% of that high. It's in a squeeze on the 30-minute chart, and it has an ATR greater than 1.5. And what that means is I want something with a greater than 1.5 ATR, and I can push that even higher if I want to, because that tells me that it will move. I don't want something that has a low ATR because it's not going to move much, right? And with options, that's really not what you want, right? You want something that's going to move quickly. 75 period high is not a 75-minute high. So this is set on a daily chart. So 75 periods on a daily chart is 75 days. If I change this to a 30-minute chart, it would be 75 30-minute candles. I don't know how many days that is. I'm not that good with math. Does that make sense? I'm just sort of guessing. So let me share this grid if you want it. Not this grid, this scan. So we're going to share the scan. Share again. You got to do the parentheses around the dots. Let me see if this will just post. Maybe it will since I'm an admin. It does. Okay, I can post links. Sorry, I didn't know that. That's new to me. But that's cool. Why 75 periods? It's just a number that I chose because I'm looking for the trend, the upward trend in the TPS pattern. So on a daily, I just found that 75 works well if I'm looking for a daily chart. So what I've built is you can see this scan gives me, I don't know how many, there's 30 stocks here. Those all show up over here on the right side, left side in this TTM 30-minute squeeze watch list. So this watch list is dynamically created from this scan. Okay. So now, and I have a video on this on YouTube on how to build this. You can build these blocks. I'm over here on the left hand side. I know you can't see my cursor, but I'm on the left hand side. You can see I just clicked DE, right? Lows, and I've got it set to change my entire grid. Okay. And there is a way to build these in the watch list. And I have a video on that, but I'm not going to go through that today. Right. So you're asking about the scans, these boxes? Yeah, because I put these boxes in myself. Just like I put the boxes in over here in my watch list on the far left. And there's a video on how to do that. I'll go through that at another time as well. Okay. And so I can look at what I'm looking for are 30-minute squeezes that the pattern looks good. So let's look at DE, right? We know DE is in a 30-minute squeeze because it's part of this scan, correct? Okay. So do we have a trend in DE, right? If we're looking at that first, I don't like the 30-minute chart. It doesn't really look all that great. But the reason I have multiple charts up is because I can see, we're in a trend. We're in a temporary trend here. You can see on the daily, we're in an upward trend. We've reached a high. We've pulled back. We're starting to consolidate, but it's a little messy. I happen to like this 78-minute chart over here. And so that looks pretty interesting. It's in a 2-dot squeeze. But I'm gonna let it pass, right? I'm gonna look at low next. Lows, LOW. Low is definitely in an upward trend. I can see that on the daily, right? We're in a 30-minute squeeze. I think low is kind of interesting. Does it have the pattern we're looking for? Somewhat, right? MA. MA is surprisingly in a 30-minute squeeze, but it's not. I'm not into the pattern at the moment, right? I'm looking for something that looks like the bird pattern. And so as you go through these, you'll start to find things that pop out to your eye, right? And the reason we have the multiple charts up, I have a lot of drawings still on a bunch of these charts. But as you scroll through, you can see, okay, well, here's what it looks like on the 30-minute. That looks okay. But what you'll see is you'll glance over to maybe the 78 and it really starts to pop out, right? And you're like, oh, okay. Well, maybe I should look at this on the 78-minute chart, right? RCL, Royal Caribbean, looks pretty interesting on the 30-minute. I like it even better on the 78-minute. Does that make sense? And we don't have much of a squeeze, but then I would put this on my watch list. I would write this down. We are definitely in an uptrend on the daily, right? We have reached a high. We've pulled back. We're consolidating on the 78-minute and the 30-minute, right? We have everything we're looking for. And I like the way the 78-minute chart looks. So I would write it down, right? So then I just go down these. And if you've got these set up, I don't like cat. Yes, cat's in an uptrend. There's nothing really setting up that I like, right? The pattern, there's nothing there. Next one is Han. I know D-Man's been playing Han. And I'm sure there's a great play here, but I don't love it, right? SPY, we had our gap down and reclaim a little bit today, but nothing's setting up. I don't see anything I like. Amazon, maybe the daily squeeze, but I don't see anything that really just stands out. And you'll get to roll through these, and out of 30 stocks, you'll finally see one that you're like, oh, I like that pattern. CAH, I like that 30-minute pattern. Right? So I would write CAH down. ACN, I don't love it. CAR, CAR is interesting. I've been keeping my eye on CAR. It doesn't really have the pattern that we're looking for, but it kind of does, right? You can kind of see it right there. So I would write that down, right? IBM. IBM looks kind of interesting. I don't love the trend, but our pattern is there on the 30-minute, right? So this is a quick way to just kind of move through stocks. Like nothing here. Look, this is another great one. So if I'm looking and I'm just waiting for things to set up to my eye, right? I'm just waiting for things to set up to my eye. Nothing on the 1 minute. Nothing on, this is Costco, nothing on the 30-minute. Nothing on the 78-minute. Got this huge candle, right? Nothing on the daily. But immediately, and I know this is one we've been looking at quite a bit, but immediately I'm like, oh wow, look at that monthly. You know what I mean? And so you get a chance to look at 5 different charts to see if there's a pattern that's setting up somewhere, right? Obviously this is firing, but that immediately caught my eye when I saw it over here in the right side. And once you get good at this, you'll be able to go through these in a 5-minute time period. When Nate says, "Does anybody have anything that looks good?" You can run through them and be like, "Nothing setting up at the moment," or "Yeah, take a look at this," or "Take a look at that," right? Or you can do that. Now, what I do is I do that here, and then I take it over to TradingView and I map it out because I want to find support and resistance levels. I want to see if there's a good spot to take an entry on it. I want to see if there's overhead resistance. I want to see a lot of things, which I can't really see here. Anybody have any questions on that? And then you can keep an eye. I like to keep an eye on the market ticks. I like to keep an eye on what SPY and Qs are doing. It just helps me keep an eye on what the market's doing. Yeah. So John W., you're talking about the on the watch lists, the red boxes. That you have to set up on your own. It doesn't transfer when you share your screen. I do have a video on how to do that on YouTube. You just have to go in and including all the links for the scripts. So it's kind of it's a 10 to 15 minute process, which I don't want to get into here, but you can find it on YouTube. And then just build it yourself. The scripts are on there in the description. Just be aware you don't want to have too many of these open. Too many of these watch lists open that have the squeeze indicators on them, because it takes a lot of processing power for whatever reason. And it'll all of a sudden your toss will start acting real slow, as if it's not slow enough already, right? Nate G Trading is the YouTube. And most of it's sessions like this, just learning sessions. So any questions on how to search? And you can build these scans. You can build more scans. I have probably 30 scans in here based on different things, right? So you can see, I don't know if that window comes up or not for you guys. Um, but, you know, I've got TTM daily squeeze with a high ATR, right? And a, you know, and a weekly uptrend. I have combos of a daily and a 4 hour squeeze. I don't think you can see that. Can you see that? That's weird. I don't think you can. The little windows don't pop up correctly, do they? Uh, my YouTube channel is Nate G Trading. That's it. That just has the recordings of this kind of stuff in here. Hang on a minute. We've got market rolling a little bit. Sorry, no, that's not what I wanted to do there. And then I have this grid, which shows me all my positions. I mean, I have to set them, but this is kind of how I monitor my positions throughout the day. Yeah, man, Dave, we are regulators. We mount up. Enlarge the scan? You mean this scan? Yeah. You're a hip hop guy too, huh? Yeah, you need a toss account, and then it'll open up and you can save it. Okay, so we covered what the TPS squeeze is. We covered how to search for it. Does anybody have any questions on those things? I'm going to toggle back over here to Trading View. So this is what we needed to watch here, right? Trading View. AMAT broke down, came back into resistance now. What was support became resistance, right? And it kind of hovered there and it rolled over. We still haven't broken this low here. We're playing on the 30-minute, but it doesn't look great. So this might be a stop out before the end of the day, especially if we're gonna break this low again. And this break down and reclaim or retest is also a great way to see about potentially shorting something, right? So if you get a breakdown and then you come back and retest that support level, which is now resistance, and hold and roll, that can be a good indication that it's time to short, and you short at that spot. What you really want to see is it to reclaim the pattern and then retest it. So AMAT not looking great at the moment. Going to keep a close eye on this for a potential stop out if we break down much lower than this. And the nice thing about stopping out is you can always, you can always rebuy, right? If it then reclaims the pattern and makes a comeback, you can rebuy. Okay. So that was finding TPS patterns in both TradingView and Thinkorswim. So I'm going to cut the recording here, but I will stay on the mic for a while and answer any questions. So